Lumumba's family says returning his tooth is a good step. 500,000 people flee dozens of infernos in Oregon wildfires. And trade talks hang in balance as UK rejects EU ultimatum on Brexit. Details of these and more after this break. I am Omoye Ogbede. The family of Congolese independence hero Patrice Lumumba has welcomed the court ruling that said his tooth should be returned to his family. Lumumba's nephew, Jean-Jacques Lumumba, said the move is a good step of what happened. He said 2 men who were killed alongside Lumumba, Joseph Okito and Maurice Mpolo, are also Congo heroes, and the truth about their assassination should be reviewed as well. A Belgian court ruled that a tooth taken from Lumumba's corpse be given to his daughter, Juliana, who had written a letter to the Belgian king asking for its return. Lumumba, who became Congo's first prime minister after it gained independence from Belgium in 1960, was murdered in 1961 after he was abducted by separatist fighters. The Belgian government had a role in his death and in 2002 issued a formal apology. The British and American spy agencies are also believed to have been involved. Lumumba's tooth is thought to be taken by a Belgian policeman who was helping to dispose the body. He was later seized by the Belgian authorities. A South African entrepreneur has set up a women-only taxi company to protect women from violence in public transport and other taxi-hailing companies. Asife Mekefa, 18, said taxis had become a dangerous place for women, hence her quest to ensure safe travels. She said 35% of gender-based violence comes from women being killed in public transport and e-hailing services. Mpefa said the taxi-hailing app was still being developed, but an SMS service was in use. She said there are male citizens that are very concerned about the women, and they are supporting the initiative. And more than 500,000 people in the U.S. state of Oregon are fleeing deadly wildfires that are raging across the Pacific Northwest. Fanned by unusually hot, dry winds, dozens of fires are sweeping the state, and at least one is being treated as suspected arson. Governor Kate Brown said the exact number of fatalities was not yet known, though at least 4 were confirmed. More than 100 wildfires are currently scorching 12 western U.S. states. The worst affected are Oregon, California, and Washington, where entire towns have been destroyed. According to the National Interagency Fire Center, some 4.4 million acres has been razed, which is an area larger than Connecticut and slightly smaller than Wales. And the boss of Rio Tinto, Jean-Sébastien Jacques, will step down following criticism of the mining giant's destruction of sacred Aboriginal sites. In May, the world's biggest iron ore miner destroyed 2 ancient caves in Pilbara, Western Australia. The company went ahead with blowing up the Junkan Hohe rock shelters despite the opposition of Aboriginal traditional owners. It sparked widespread condemnation from shareholders and the public. On Friday, the company, in a statement, said significant stakeholders have expressed concerns about executive accountability for the failings identified. The board said Jacques would remain as the chief executive until March or until a successor was appointed. Only senior executives, including the head of the miners' iron ore and corporate relations divisions, will also leave the company at the end of the year. The caves, seen as one of Australia's most significant archaeological research sites, had shown evidence of continuous human habitation dating back 46,000 years. They sat above about 8 million tons of high-grade iron ore, with an estimated value of £75 million. Australia's parliament is currently holding an inquiry into the miners' actions. Rio Tinto also held its own inquiry earlier this year, after which the company cut bonuses for directors and began attempts at repairing relations with the Aboriginal communities. And talks Talks over trade deal with the European Union are hanging in a balance amid a standoff over the UK's plan to override parts of Brexit withdrawal agreement. The EU has warned that UK could face legal action if it does not ditch controversial elements in the internal market bill by the end of the month. Concerned Conservative members of Parliament have launched a bid to amend the new law, but ministers say they will not give way. Trade talks are due to resume on Monday amid significant differences. UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson's proposed internal market bill, which will be formally debated by members of Parliament in the House of Commons for the first time on Monday, addresses the Northern Ireland Protocol, an element of the Brexit withdrawal agreement designed to prevent a hard border return into the island of Ireland. The new law would give UK ministers powers to modify or disapply rules relating to the movement of goods that will come into force from 1st of January if the UK and EU are unable to strike a trade deal. And Germany says 10 European countries have agreed to take 400 unaccompanied minors who fled Greece's largest migrant camp when it was gutted by fire. In a press conference on Friday, Interior Minister said most would go to Germany and France. Close to 13,000 people have been living in squalor in the Moria camp on Lesbos. Families have been sleeping in fields and on roads after fleeing the blaze on Wednesday as authorities struggle to find them accommodation. Near the ruins of Moria, local residents blocked roads and stopped charities from delivering aid and said they were against the construction of new tents. After visiting Moria, European Commissioner Vice President Margaritis Sinknas announced that the devastated camp would be replaced by a modern facility on the same site. The Greek government has sent a team to Lesbos to find a solution locally, but residents oppose plans for a new camp. And Lebanon has launched an investigation into a huge fire at a warehouse storing aid that erupted in the port of Beirut 1 month after a massive explosion that killed more than 190 people. The blaze broke out when an aid agency had been storing food and cooking oil. Firefighters and military officials spent hours battling the fire, using helicopters to drop water on it before getting it under control on Thursday. No injuries were reported and the cause of the fire is not yet known. A blaze sent a cloud of dark smoke over the Lebanese capital. The head of Lebanon's Red Cross said some people were suffering from shortness of breath, but there was no reports of injuries. Red Cross Regional Director said the warehouse stocked thousands of food parcels. The Lebanese army announced in a tweet on Thursday that military police had begun an investigation into the blaze. And that's KFM's news around the world, but before we go, a quick recap of the headlines. Patrice Namamba's family says returning his tooth is a good step. 500,000 people flee dozens of infernos in Argon wildfires. And trade talks hang in balance as UK rejects EU ultimatum on Brexit. Do remember that the continued unity of Nigeria is a collective responsibility. Be sure to play your part. Coronavirus is real. Wash your hands regularly with soap and running water. Use your face masks while in public to stay safe. KFM's News Around the World was produced by Labadum Asagwaram. I am Omoyo Ogbaide saying thanks for listening. Good afternoon.
Two